This one chip could gut NVIDIA's dominance, shatter the AI hardware market, and quietly rewrite the rules of the global economy, and almost no one sees it coming. It's not flashy, it's not viral, but it's already being deployed in data centers, defense systems, and cloud infrastructure around the world. And it's not from NVIDIA. It's from Intel, and it's called the Gaudi 3. While investors obsess over GPUs, Intel has built something entirely different, a chip purpose built for the next era of artificial intelligence. Not a modified graphics card, not a recycled architecture, a custom AI accelerator, engineered for maximum speed, energy efficiency, and scale. An early benchmark suggests it might outperform NVIDIA's H100 in key AI workloads. Not in height, in raw performance per watt. That single metric, tokens processed per watt of electricity, is about to redefine the entire AI economy. Because AI is hitting a wall, the more it grows, the more power it demands. Every chatbot prompt, every image generation, every LLM response costs energy. And at global scale, that energy cost becomes a limiting factor. This is the new bottleneck, and the chip that can solve it wins. That's exactly what the Gaudi 3 was built to do. It's not designed for gaming, it's not optimized for rendering. It's built to run transformer models like GPT-4, Claude, and Gemini, fast, efficient, and at massive scale. And Intel isn't just making performance claims, they're already deploying the Gaudi 3 with AWS, Google Cloud, and Dell. That's not speculation, that's real infrastructure. But here's where the story deepens. NVIDIA's chips are manufactured by TSMC, a third-party supplier based in Taiwan. Intel, on the other hand, owns its own fabs. They're manufacturing Gaudi 3 chips in-house inside the United States with far more control over supply chains and timelines. That gives them a huge geopolitical advantage, because we're not just in a tech race, we're in a chip war. Governments around the world are scrambling to secure access to advanced compute. The US, China, the EU, they all know that the country with the best AI chips wins the next decade. It's not just about faster apps, it's about national power. And in that context, Intel suddenly looks very strategic. The Gaudi 3 isn't just another chip, it's a wedge, a way to break NVIDIA's monopoly and give hyperscalers leverage they haven't had in years. Right now, NVIDIA's H100 can cost over $40,000 per unit. Why? Because they can, there's no real competition. But if the Gaudi 3 offers comparable or better performance at half the cost and lower energy consumption, the entire equation shifts. Suddenly, hyperscalers like Amazon and Meta have options. Suddenly, pricing pressure exists. And when that happens, the balance of power moves. That's what makes this moment so critical. Most investors are watching the app layer. They're chasing ChatGPT clones and AI art platforms. But the real money, the long-term macro leverage, is in the hardware. Because hardware controls software, it dictates what's possible, who can afford to scale, and who owns the rails of the new economy. This is the shift most people never see coming. And it's not the first time. 10 years ago, NVIDIA was in Intel's shoes. Back then, everyone thought CPUs were the future. NVIDIA bet on GPUs and won. Now Intel's making a similar move, but instead of chasing hype, they're solving real-world constraints. And those constraints are everywhere. Data centers are straining under power demands, cooling costs are exploding, the electrical grid is under pressure. If the AI economy keeps scaling at its current pace, we'll need an entirely new energy infrastructure just to keep up. Unless the chips change, unless someone builds a smarter engine, that's what Gaudi 3 represents. It's not just about beating the H100, it's about enabling a sustainable future for AI. And if it works, Intel won't just be back, they'll be central. But this goes even deeper. Imagine what happens when governments start requiring domestic chips for national AI systems. Chips built in-country, free from export restrictions, immune to foreign interference. Intel becomes the default. Defense, healthcare, finance, energy. Any sector where sovereignty matters suddenly needs what Intel offers. That's why the Gaudi 3 isn't just a product, it's a wedge into a trillion-dollar future. And while Wall Street focuses on hype cycles, the real investors, the sovereign funds, the infrastructure buyers are watching this space closely. Because if Intel gets it right, they won't just take market share. They'll reshape the very architecture of modern AI. This is the part no one sees. Everyone's chasing the next app, but apps are nothing without compute. And compute is ruled by chips. The companies that own that layer will dictate who can build, who can scale, and who gets left behind. That's the game, and Intel quietly is stepping onto the board with a very serious piece. If they win even a fraction of the AI hardware market, the upside is massive. If they win more than that, if they become the low-cost, high-efficiency standard, then everything changes. And it won't be announced in a press release. It'll show up slowly in infrastructure deals, in energy savings, in deployment speed, until suddenly Gaudi is everywhere. And the world realizes the next chip king didn't come out of nowhere. It came from a company that had been building for years while everyone else was distracted. But there's one more layer to this. It's not just about cloud infrastructure or hyperscalers. It's about who controls the on-ramps to AI in edge computing, mobile inference, and sovereign infrastructure. Because the next evolution of AI won't be locked in massive server farms. It'll run closer to the user, on local nodes, on edge devices, on hardware that needs to be efficient, secure, and scalable. And Intel's Gaudi architecture is designed for exactly that transition. This isn't just a data center story anymore. This is a global compute story, and it's unfolding at every layer of the stack. Gaudi 3 is now being evaluated not just for cloud deployments, but for private infrastructure, military-grade systems, and nationalized AI platforms. The implications of that are enormous, because once a chip gets embedded in government-level infrastructure, it becomes the default. It gets the next contract, it earns the trust, it becomes the standard. And in an industry where switching costs are high and backward compatibility matters, being first isn't about hype, it's about anchoring. Intel is anchoring right now, silently, strategically. They're not shouting about it, they're just doing it, which is why the market hasn't caught up, not yet. But it will, because eventually the margins will show up. The earnings will reflect the new deals. The chart will tell the story. And when that happens, the price action will be impossible to ignore. But by then, the smart money will already be in. That's the nature of structural shifts. They don't happen all at once. They creep, they embed, then they explode. And when they do, everyone acts like it was obvious. This isn't obvious yet, but the signals are there. Intel is back in the AI race. They're playing a different game, and for the first time in years, they might actually win it. The ones that never trend but always matter. If you want to keep tracking these power shifts, the ones that never trend but always matter, subscribe now. We break down the real economic engines behind AI, decode global tech strategy, and deliver insights that actually move the needle. Stay alert, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one. Because in this era, disruption doesn't wait for headlines. It starts in infrastructure, in factories, fabs, and firmware. And by the time the average investor realizes that the next market leader is already crowned, Gaudi 3 might be that inflection point. Not because it's loud, but because it's built to last. And in a market driven by scale, that's the only thing that really matters.